This is CBC News Network, and you've been watching officials in Baltimore giving this news conference, updating us on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which collapsed overnight, early this morning, I should say, at around 1:30 a.m. local time after a large container ship hit a support column. Officials say vehicles were on that bridge, and they are now conducting an ongoing search and rescue operation. And we do have in-depth team coverage. We're going to go first now to Richard Madden, who's standing by in D.C., before getting to Katie Simpson, who is on the scene. Richard, let's talk first now about the comments that we heard from various officials, including the governor of Maryland, about this breaking news development.
Yeah, we heard from Governor Wes Moore and other top officials. The governor saying this morning the state of Maryland is in shock. He said he found out about the collapse literally minutes after it happened and promptly declared a state of emergency. You also heard in the update, he said the focus is on the urgent rescue mission that's now underway. Now, all officials reiterated that this is a massive all-hands-on-deck response. We saw the FBI, the governor, reiterating that this appears to be an accident and there's no evidence of terrorism. They also said, the governor said that the cargo ship issued a mayday moments before the collapse, which let officials stop vehicles from crossing over, possibly saving some lives. The governor was also asked if there was any structural issue on the bridge that may have contributed to this disaster. He said no. Dive teams, as we know, are now on this urgent rescue mission for survivors whose vehicles may have plunged into the freezing water below. And as you noted, this happened around 1:30 a.m. local time. So it was pitch black outside when that big cargo ship crashed into some of the support beams holding up the Francis Scott Key Bridge, collapsing it into the water, sending people and vehicles with it. Officials also confirmed that there were crews doing routine maintenance on the bridge at the time of the collapse. And just to give you some context here, this is a very large bridge. It spans about 2.5 kilometers above the Papsco River, and that flows up to the Chesapeake and the Atlantic Ocean. It has 4 lanes, and it's part of a major interstate highway network near Baltimore's harbor. Cargo ships routinely pass under the bridge on the way to the busy port. It's the second busiest port in the mid-Atlantic region. We also heard that crews are still using sonar to detect vehicles in the river, but there are major challenges in these rescue efforts. The water is freezing, and the conditions are unsafe. You look at the images that we're seeing here, there's twisted metal and concrete hanging from the bridge, which makes it concerning for those rescue workers. The waterway into and out of the port has since been closed. The FAA has issued a no-fly order over the disaster zone, which includes drones. But I got to tell you, the implications here are going to be massive because this is a major port for new vehicles and big items shipped from overseas. So the first priority, as we heard, is rescue, recovery, and then they'll talk accountability. But all of this will be followed by a rebuilding of this massive 4-lane bridge that serves as a major artery for commerce and transportation along a very busy Northeast corridor.
The CBC's Richard Madden reporting from Washington. Thank you, Richard.
You bet.
And as you've heard, 6 people are believed to be missing, and we know there are still cars submerged under the water, but it's not believed that anyone is trapped in those vehicles at this time. The 6 people believed missing are connected to the construction work that was taking place on the bridge in difficult conditions, windy weather, frigid and choppy waters. And it's been more than 9 hours now since that bridge collapsed. Divers are in those waters right now searching for victims. And the CBC's Katie Simpson is now in Baltimore. She's on the scene and she joins us live. Katie, you know, we've been listening to that press conference where officials were talking about the ongoing search and rescue operation. Can you talk to us about what you're seeing from where you're standing?
When you first pull up to this area and you get to see the scale and the scope of the destruction, it actually takes your breath away. I'm going to sort of get out of the way. My colleague Jonathan, who's operating the camera right now, he's going to show you what we can see from our vantage point. This is where tens of thousands of people every day would get on the bridge normally for their daily commute to work. But as you can see, the bridge goes up and then suddenly it looks as someone has come in with a saw and just sawed it right off. That is what is left of the Key Bridge, this very vital transportation artery through Baltimore. And of course, the search and rescue operation is the priority right now. We heard the Coast Guard's involved in the search right now. They're using sonar. They're trying to track down those 6 people who were part of that construction crew that was doing routine maintenance on this bridge at the time it collapsed. That right now is the priority for authorities, who are doing everything they can to try and find those 6 missing people. Of course, there were some questions at that news conference about exactly how many cars were actually on the bridge at the time it collapsed. As we heard from Richard, the timeline here is part of the investigation, and we know that the crew on the ship was able to get out a mayday message to authorities on land about whatever was going on, whatever was going wrong with that ship. It allowed authorities to start the slow or stop the flow of traffic onto this bridge, but we didn't get a crystal clear answer from authorities about whether there were actual cars on the bridge or what exactly happened, how many were there, if that was the case. So that's all a part of the search and rescue operation. It is the priority right now. But again, let me just step out of the way one more time, and my colleague Jonathan will show you. You can see the base of the bridge right here, and there's a point where it just ends. And it's where the destruction of this bridge, after a key support beam was struck, it fell like a shoelace, I've heard it described, just dropping into the water. And that's what's left of it right now.
The CBC's Katie Simpson on the scene in Baltimore. Thank you, Katie.